if we consider this entire map as like a singular line, it's trying to like, you have to understand like how far your team can push up this line in any given scenario. So when you're on defense, this line might only be this far. You can only kind of hold your bats in this area. And this was the spot earlier on that enabled that larger push when they had the wiper come through. I don't know if this was the start of that push, but like you were just coming out of spawn, minding your own business, and this wiper was like ready to jump on you and just got a free splat. And you thought, from your perspective, you thought the line went all the way to here. You wanted to get into a spot where you could like sit comfortably on your plat, throw suction bombs onto the tower when they're on the first checkpoint, and you're chilling. But your line isn't this far. Your line was only to here. And anything past this is very, very dangerous. You thought so, Chris? Sorry. I get really excited when it comes to VOD reviews. I enjoy it. So the planning part is like when you get splatted, check your minimap, check paint, understand what spots the enemy is going to be in position for. And depending on the map and your familiarity with the map or mode, you may not always know what that is, but it at least should be something that you're thinking about so that you can get better at it. It's a skill that's really, really important to understand where the enemy's trying to go or where they're at. And where you were positioning is like totally fine. Like if you wanted to go here, I would have probably have taken bats, but I think you and Saf are both coming off spawn. So like if Saf was going to paint for crab and get into this type of spot, you could support them. But like, you know, if you wanted to sit here and get some paint over here, like throw the suction bomb and prevent this person from just jumping at you. But you got more caught off guard than anything, which means you didn't really have like, you weren't anticipating that they'd be in these spots, but good players would anticipate that they're going to be holding these spots. This video was made in part from the love and support from viewers like you. Thank you. Also, I can get the pin out. Let me see if this does it. Wait, these are my teammates. What the? Wait, this is crazy. Alright, what comp are y'all running? Yeah, that's reasonable. Anyways, let's we'll go from Hecka's perspective. I want to look at gear real quick. So you're running a more I guess I don't know the rest of your build, but not running any mains of special spam means you're not going special spam. So I don't know. Either way is fine. Like I think special spam probably is on average a little bit more powerful, but if you're not running special spam, let's see you adhere to the build. But when we get this pick, it's okay for you to like move forward, look for opportunities. Obviously, in this kind of scenario, we see paint on this right side, so we have to be careful about people under our ledge. So don't just like drop left blindly because they could be sharking under there at this point. But you know, get your paint out and start looking for opportunities to be more aggressive. Get suction bombs on these areas. I mean, you can even suction bomb right here if you want to dislodge them, so you can safely like move forward. You want to get a suction bomb like underneath the ledge, but I want to see you moving forward so that you can, even if you're not necessarily taking a fight with the Tetra, you're at least painting forward and being more aggressive. Because yeah, X-Ray takes this fight and literally no one can help. And we should already have enough forward pressure to where someone's like in a spot to help this play. Like we could be pushing this way, we could have already have dropped in the mid, but this fight is happening and no one on the team actually can help, which should not be happening. Especially since this actual matchup is like kind of garbage for Tetra. I think with Tetra in this much, maybe it's not as bad, but you know, in general, especially when we have an advantage. Anytime we have numbers, always look like if you can start looking to move forward, you should want to do so. Like this play. Good dude, good. This person was really aggressive after they got the pick. And like, this is good. I don't think they took this the best way, but I like that, you know, the other person like started pushing with numbers, which is what we should be doing. But I like your patience to get the stop. Yeah, it's going to be, that's Tri-Slosh play. But again, Tri-Slosh gets to move up. Like we want to control this area. This is what I was talking about. To protect our charger. And again, if we're on defense, we can throw bombs in this area. We can paint this area. Just keep this area, you know, we don't want someone to just kind of swim up or swim up from the side or swim up from this flank and get to an angle where they can ledge camp Sun. But when we have aggression, when we have numbers, when we have an advantage, you have to move forward. If you get over here or if you're over here, then we don't have to worry about this anymore. This is like covered because we have presence on those sides of the map. Yeah, honestly, that angle is just tough. There's nothing you can do about that. And team gets a wipe for it. So here, I want to make sure you're jumping in. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, super unlucky. So in this spot, you have to start thinking about, like, in the context of the push, like, what can I do to assist? What's my role at this point of the game? You know, that's for like first checkpoint, for second checkpoint, third checkpoint over here. It's like when you're at these different spots and when this thing's moving forward, what is your role in this comp? What's your role in this game? How do you actually like assist with this? I would try to use our suction bombs and just keep this area kind of safe. And your position's fine. I think you're, as long as you know where Charger was, I wasn't really paying attention. But you know, keep this area painted. You may want to like kind of hold this entire zone kind of, and you can go over here if like someone's looking to drop down from their plot all the way over here in flank tower, you know, or if they're dropping from here. But we don't really have good items to actually start pushing now, and we don't have the numbers. So I don't think we like, I think we're just looking to secure checkpoint in this spot. Okay. So I got this pick, which is great. Yeah. Again, suction bombs are good, but you see like exactly what I was talking about is what's happening now. That this Tri-Slosh is in that spot and pushed us off of the tower, which luckily we were able to get away, so we're chilling. But we want to be preemptive. We have to understand, even though they're not in this spot now, we have to understand that this is a very highly contested spot. Like, going for that pick is fine, but where the splash wall is, we need to have consistent pressure here. We need to make sure these short range weapons don't just have an easy, you know, especially with Tri-Slosher is just so dangerous on a lot of these points if you don't protect these areas. This is the other problem, kind of going back to the very beginning of the match, where you were sitting on plat and like we're losing out on information and we're losing out on positioning. The same thing's happening here, where like you see someone up here, but like you don't know what's going on with the rest of this play. And like Tri-Strike is down. I mean, Tri-Slosh is down, which is probably the scariest thing for you to deal with. Obviously, you can't fight any of these things. You can fight Charger if you're like, if you sneak into their range. But you can't fight any of their actual weapons. You just get, you know, it's a bad matchup for Splash Neo in this kind of scenario. And like, yeah, I don't know. It's like you have no idea. There's no visibility what's happening if there's something happening in this pit. Because like, again, your general idea of not wanting to take fights, I think is correct here. I actually like the play, but you could also be positioned like up here and make that same decision. But there could be someone that's like taking a fight with Saf, or there could be someone that's just like looking to push forward because there's only one person left. And you could be in position to shark and like get a free pick, install their momentum, and then, you know, now we can push very quickly. So again, I think playing it safe here is totally fine, but like look for a position all the way up here, you know, maybe look for a flank angle over here. I don't really care the decision, but trying to be so far away. Okay. In a situation like this, what are you thinking? What is your plan? I wanna get into your brain of like, what is your goal in this spot as a Splash Neo? Where are you looking to where are you looking to position? What are you trying to accomplish? Like, are you looking to stop? Like, are you playing to stop first checkpoint? Are you looking to, you know, like, is there a certain area you're trying to hold? This kind of thinking is like, it's just important to think about these things. Not that like you have to always be correct, but you need to go into like every time that you're respawning, every time that you're like, I mean, it should just be always, it's a continual thing, but you want to like make sure that you think about the decisions that you make and why you made them. Because I think the two ideas here, like you said, you can either, you know, depending on the safety of the situation, if you can get into a position, which you probably have to get maybe like here, and maybe, I don't actually know if you can get a suction bomb. You should be able to get a suction bomb on the first check. But like if you can't, and this is what you need to be thinking about as a splash Neo, I can't duel this, can't duel this, can't duel this. This thing gets me if I'm like, you know, in the open. So if your goal is to hold this off with suction bombs, there's a lot of conditions that have to be met in order for you to actually be able to accomplish that. Because you have to get into this type of position, which you are susceptible to ledge camping. You are susceptible to people coming through this way. You're potentially susceptible. You could potentially have to jump on the person that's coming shortcut. You know, like if you're ready for it. But there's a lot of things you have to be careful about, which isn't to say that this thing is off limits, but this play is very risky. If this is something that you all communicated, that Crab, like Saf is close enough to Crab that they're going to take this paint and they're going to take this paint and they're going to position in a safe spot and use a good special so that we can stop the push. That's fine. But I want you to be careful because you have to deal with ledge campers. You may have to potentially deal with people that are already on our plat. I don't know the information you have. Obviously we have God vision right now, but these are the things that I want you to be thinking about. When you're playing something like Splash, it's like one of the underappreciated things about being a Splash player is that you have to balance you going forward, you going back, you know, you having to hold down a position, you looking to move forward. It's tough. It's a tough world. And especially like it's pretty chill with V-Splash because you have a burst bomb. It's tough. It's tough as a Splash Neo. If I'm not playing Anchor Roll Splash Neo, it feels super uncomfortable. So if I was playing Neo in this comp, I would feel super uncomfortable. It's not to say it's bad, but I don't have enough practice where I would stumble quite a bit on a lot of these spots. But when you're like, this is why, like when you get splatted initially, when you're checking your minimap, like I want you to check minimap, see paint, you know, as you get better with your understanding of the game, you can generally kind of predict like, okay, I got splatted. So, you know, after X amount of seconds, the enemy team's going to be positioned in, you know, these types of spots. And you need to kind of understand, you can see it visually with paint to certain circumstances, but, you know, because you get to play it way different if the enemy team is like here versus the enemy team being here, which is kind of where they're at now, versus the enemy team being like here, or like even worse, like up here and here. You know, they're not this far forward and everything, but depending on where they're at in like on the map, you're gonna have to play this differently. So like when you get splatted, when you check minimap, these are the things you have to be thinking about, and you have to adapt your game plan accordingly. Because again, and this is why I was talking about throwing suction bombs at this spot so much, like this area right here, is because this spot is so strong. With the way the tower moves, even as a splash, you can literally sit right here. Like you can sit anywhere in this spot and just use your main weapon as the tower moves forward. If they're like positioned farther back, like if y'all got wiped like in their base, then by the time you're spawning in and like, you know, they have to paint up and everything, they're probably only like as far as this charger is right here, which means you can get to this spot for free and you can shark here and you can make a decision on, do I get the free tower pick or do I throw at least a bomb on tower to get them off? Because suction bomb's really good at doing that. These are the things, like these are the bigger picture decision making that you have to be more cognizant of. So just be, you know, be very, very careful. I think your idea is fine. It's a good idea, you know. In this spot, you're either painting for your special or you're stalling with suction bomb. But if your goal is to get into this spot and you don't know if you can get there safely and you don't have a teammate to work with, you're gonna probably die. So I'm interested to see how this goes. So yeah, that's what ends up happening here. Is that you get into the spot and they're already throwing bombs and like Power's already gotten past that point where you potentially get the free pick. At this point, when I see the suction bomb and Tower's already moving, I would just like say no, I'm not doing that play anymore and I'm hopping this way. But if you want to throw bombs here, that's fine. But you have to be very careful about this ledge. And again, their comp is like ledge camp central and like get out of my way central. A wall is going to destroy you all the time. As you play against better players, they're going to take as much space as that they should take, you know? Like that's part of improving as a player. And their line right now is at least onto our plat. Not necessarily going for this type of plat. Like them going for you is very risky for them. And you had a little bit of a notice that they were coming, but so like they shouldn't have gotten away with this, but I can understand your brain's already focused on like this part of the map, so you're not watching for this flank here. But you should at least anticipate that they're gonna be in this area. This is their line basically, and you have to respect it. And again, we're especially playing against a Wiper and Tri-Slosh, although Tri-Slosh got yeeted. You have to respect these ledges extra. Okay, I'll let this play out and then we'll talk through it. Oh no. I don't like you sharking here. I'd rather you start pushing forward and painting forward, which you end up doing, which is great. But you should be doing this faster. This goes back to like, how do you improve as a player? You make these decisions faster. You don't come up with a decision while you're sharking that, oh, it's time for me to start moving forward. You should know to do that and you shouldn't be sharking on their plat. But either way, you're chilling. The other thing that I don't like, and it seems like a consistent habit so far, is this spot right here. For a lot of these scenarios, and it's not that you're supposed to go and take fights, but in these scenarios, you constantly are positioning yourself here on stacks. You're constant, like when we were pushing forward on left stack, you were sitting here. And even more specifically, you're sitting like in the middle where you have no vision. You get to admire the pixels and the PNGs that they use for this wall. But we want to know what's going on. Like I want to know what's going on over here. I want to know what's going on behind here. I want to know what's going on their plat. Are there people dropping? Can I throw a suction bomb? You know, like going into the spot, you probably could have got a suction bomb behind here to at least scatter them a little bit. Or you could favor the suction bomb on the left side or right side. Because they have a charger, I'd probably focus on right side just because you're a little bit safer. But you can throw a suction bomb like right here so that you can move yourself into this kind of position. You can also climb this box as well. And like you can sit in the same area but be like a little bit higher. Because if it's safe to drop over, like if you can drop from up here and drop behind and collapse on whatever X-ray's fighting, I want you to do that. If you can go this way and drop on them, I want you to do that. If you can shark in this spot while they push up, I want you to do that. But I don't have any information to work with in this spot. So like if I'm you, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And that's the problem. In terms of the line, where's the enemy team right now? I think they're off your plat. They're probably gonna start pushing it soon. I'm assuming that you're going to be painting for special with all this paint over here and you're going to hold bats, which I think is the right play. But just again, I want to make sure that you're like thinking about these things. And then again, using suction bombs to stall, we're chilling. You have to be careful a little bit about charger, but we're chilling. Unfortunate with the flank, but yeah, getting yourself, like, this is the reason why this match is just so bad. Because once they get into those types of spots, like, you can't do anything about it. Because them just sitting under your ledge, eventually you do have to deal with them. They're under your ledge and your team spawning in and none of them can deal with it. So it's not that I don't want you to go for it, but yeah. Like if you're able to move a little bit faster, or if you're able to like immediately like jump, because like shooting shots there slow you down. This high jump slows you down. These shots slow you down. That jump slows you down. This is all good. This jump slows you down, but I can understand why you're going for it because you don't have paint. And now you're getting onto them. It's unfortunate you didn't get the pick, but there's so much micro time, and I don't want to be super, like, being this optimal is whatever. Like, it's a spot you want to get to. It's not something you need to focus on now. It's not something I need to focus on now. But this is just kind of goes to show that, like, because Sun's in this spot, and this person has to clean up Sun, and Sun jumping out, that should have given you enough time, even especially with the mine. If you played a little, like if we were playing like optimal play, this is the right play because the timing window allows you to go for this type of play. I think at this point you need to back up, but it's hard to say. Like it's not that it's hard to say. Like at this point you lose the fight 100% of the time, always. There's no way for you to win this. There's like a quick second. But yeah, like X-Ray saying, you have to retreat behind this wall at this point, and you probably throw a suction bomb down, and you need like a teammate to help. If I'm in your spot, you need someone else to work with this play. Because if you were splash, V-splash, you could throw a burst bomb in it, but you need someone to work with. So yeah, throw a bomb in this spot, move back. I'd probably still sit behind the ledge so you don't die, but I'd probably still keep my camera over here temporarily just to make sure that you know where this person's at. If this person's dropped, then we go back to what we're doing. This person is no longer a threat. If they sit over here, you can't do anything about it, and you need either your charger or like the Tetra, for example, to come in and deal with this person, and either get the pick if they're playing super greedy, or at least you need a second person to force them off this ledge. Yeah, I can tell the panic from the way that you're jumping right here. I can I can tell the panic. But I think this was SOS, right? I think this was probably Hammerhead, I would guess. Yeah. Obvious stuff here, but try to be more mobile between your shots. Yeah, you have to slow down a little bit. Like, it sucks that they got this big push. It sucks that there's only, less than 2 minutes left, and it sucks that we're losing, but we need to slow it down a little bit. Because if you end up going down, this game continues to snowball, and it's basically GG. And part of the reason why you play Neo, like part of the reason why Neo's good on TC, partially it's the in-game GG, but the other thing is the suction bombs. And you're running LDE, so you just, like, that's the one good thing about this push. The one silver lining is that you get, for the rest of this game, you get the spam burst bomb. Suction bombs like crazy. So you can just sit here. Or sorry, what am I saying? Well, if you're still dealing with this person, but once this person inevitably either gets pushed back or cleared off, like you just get the spam suction bombs. Suction bomb here, suction bomb here, suction bomb just hit tower, and they can't do anything. And that gives your time to be able to. Gives time for yourself and your rest of your team to push forward and paint and like get out of this predicament. This is like dire. This is like, outside of the fact that you're losing by a pretty tough push on this map, not that it's unbeatable, because especially with their comp, they only have one GG type of thing. It was not bad. So if you don't panic, and if I'm you, and maybe this is just my ego, I have to have confidence in my team. This isn't an overtime push. We should have enough confidence that, okay, if we play solid as a team, we're going to come back to this game. We can beat this 20 push. And you just have to believe this is good. Obviously, it's not pretty to watch, but in terms of your overall growth, this is this is good. We get into these situations in the future, maybe we're not as jittery until it's like the final, like, overtime part of the push, But But yeah, at this point, you need to be painting and you need to be like, if you're not spamming suction bombs for the next 90 seconds, what are you doing? Yeah, in these types of spots, like you need to rally with your team, which doesn't mean you have to be super greedy, start taking fights by yourself and just dying. Like it's not that level of desperation, but you need to be thinking about how do we win this game, and you need to take mid and start like a push going. And this map snowballs, and so like there's a like you're totally fine to play normal, but you do need to make a play happen. The other thing that I would mention specifically for Splash Neo and like the way TC works is like if you get out a special toward the beginning of this push, you'll have another special by the time like before the game ends. And again, this is you visualizing how we're winning this game. So it's okay to like I'm assuming you're going to use your special in a second, but when you're playing a weapon that can spam specials, it's important to make sure you know that you have 2 of them in order to like at least 2. And with a minute left, if you special now, you probably have 3, like no troll. You probably get 3 tri-strikes before the end of the game. So again, this goes back to like, how do I visualize how we win this game? And you have to like play it in like you have to think about it in reverse of like, okay, we won the game, which means we had a good push, which means we snowballed, which means we took their bats, and you kind of play it backwards. And you have to also be comfortable with knowing, because like your specials are very important. We established that like getting your special to take control of bats is important. And if you use special to take control of mid, you'll have special again before you get bats. This is like random, but I want to make sure we establish this because you can be greedy with your special here, which it sounds like you did, but just for other people. Same thing goes with like crab with a V-Splash. It's like it's totally okay to just sit up here and just pop a crab and just like get a pick or look for a opportunity or take mid for free, because this like using this crab allows your team to paint. Again, you might potentially get a pick, and like as you move forward, you continue to paint, you get the passive charge, and you're gonna have another special by the time you need it. Again, this is good, but I would have liked to seen this a little bit faster. I don't want to see X-Ray die and then, oh, it's time for us to go. I want us to be able to like even either save X-Ray or at least clean up whatever's happening. And this is why Splash Neo is like a little bit not synergistic with the Tetra, because by the time like if you're not in that fight, you can't like throw, because if you were a V-Splash, you could potentially get like a burst bomb as they're like going back to Slick, or you could get a burst bomb over here, but like you don't really have that opportunity. So you need to be a little bit like quicker to everything. So again, you're close to your special. So like in this type of scenario with the time, and like you still need to wait for your teammates to set up, I would make sure I'm painting for my tri-strike. And again, we know we're gonna like if we tri-strike before the push, we know that based off of timings, especially since the entire enemy or the entire map is enemy paint, we get a second special for the push on their bats. So we when we're thinking about our resources of how we play this last bit of time, we need to look for an opportunity, which part of looking for an opportunity as a Splash Neo means you're painting and you're giving your teammates more information by painting. Again, LDE still active, spam those suction bombs in spots and just try to build tri-strike. You should get tri-strike and like, you know, by the time you drop them to the plat, you probably could already have tri-strike. So make sure that we are looking for a play with it. Yeah, because like right now you're worrying about tower. Tower doesn't matter right now. When the enemy team has a giant push, we don't need to play standard defensive, like we're not playing standard defensive Splatoon. Your goal with it, like I think it's fine for you to watch the tower, but your goal isn't I'm gonna throw suction bombs and I'm gonna back them off tower so we can take it. That's too passive of a play when you need a big push at this point, you know? It's like, you know, you can throw suction bomb, like taking high ground and throwing suction bomb is like totally fine, but your idea and the way that you play it needs to be not we need to defend this tower, we need to get a pick. We have to get a pick in this spot. That's what we need to be thinking. This is super desperation. So, you know, again, 28 seconds is enough time. Even though we're desperate, we don't have to immediately take the first fight we see, and we can use suction bombs, we can use tri-strikes to give us a good fight. But I don't want to see you like holding bats and just throwing suction bombs on tower, because we do need the, we need the forward momentum. And we'll see how you play it. But you need to be moving. Yeah, like you're playing like you're winning right now. Like if you're winning, you just keep throwing suction bombs like you're doing. But we need a big push, and we need to make something happen. Again, they're taking unnecessary risk, but we have to look for something. We're running out of time to where they like, because if we try to touch tower when there's no, like when it's overtime, they can shark in the most random spots and just like win the game. And we don't want to be in that level of desperation. 30 seconds gives us time, but we have to use it properly. Getting into this position's fine. I would already be moving to look for a pick on this person that's sitting in this spot, or I'm looking for a flank on the far right side. But like I said, it makes the most sense to be over here. And like as you're swimming over here, and once you get to this type of position, you can look like there's, I think the autobomb's probably chasing someone, but like there's probably someone on stack that you can help with. But you need to be in the position to actually make a play, because this is sitting here does nothing for you. Unless you're expecting someone to drop onto tower, which good players will never do that. I'm pressing too many buttons. Yeah, like you'd already have the jump on this person. Like you'd be sitting in the spot, this person's shooting shots, and you've already swung and they're dead. And then you can start taking tower. This person's going to retreat, so you're not going to get the stop. But you get this pick, and you're already taking their bats before this person has repositioned, you know? And like, this is why these timings matter. Because like, I'm looking at you play this game, you're making the right decisions. You're just not putting yourself in positions to succeed. But you understand the assignment. You understand how you need to play, but you're not putting yourself in optimal spots to make plays happen. It's like the whole like when people say like, oh, like when you get lucky, it's like part preparation, part opportunity or something. I don't remember. Those corny speeches that they tell you when you're doing stuff. Yo, what's up, Sam? Hello, hello, hello. But like in order for you to get lucky, in order for the team to get lucky, because like you shouldn't win this game at this point. But again, when you're in these bad spots, you have to visualize, okay, we won the game. How did we do that? And then you work backwards. You have to reverse engineer this win. So you know what your next play is. And you knew that we need to look for picks, but you were sitting here to get a pick, which is almost a 0% chance, versus sitting here to get a pick, which still, you know, if these people are playing properly, it still should be really hard for you to do that, but at least gives you an opportunity to do so. Okay, X-Ray did good to get off tower. Yeah, there's nothing you can do there. A couple of things. So the first thing is you have to understand your role in the team comp. Even though Splash Neo is conventionally a super passive, I'm just throwing 12 tri-strikes a game and I'm painting for, you know, 2,500 paint and I'm going to get less than 3 splats. That's not your role in this game, and you need to make sure that you're playing accordingly. You have to follow up on Tetra. You have to use your bombs and good paint in order to make the enemy team feel uncomfortable so you can dislodge them so that your charger has an opportunity to actually play the game. And when your V-Splash uses crab, you need to make sure you're in a position to be able to follow up. Depending on the scenario, if you have a big lead, you don't have to take risk to do that, but you know what I mean. In general, you need to get value out of this crab, whatever that means in the situation. So that's one. Understanding your role. I don't know. This doesn't look good on anything, but your role. That's an important piece. 2, your position. This is probably the biggest thing that like, and this makes the difference between like a good player and like a great player. is being at the right spots in the right time. And part of it is like optimal movement. I think with that play that happened with the wiper, where the wiper got into this spot and did all this, partially it was unlucky. Even with the way you played it, you almost got it. But you know, like you taking shots when they were out of range, you missing this jump and having to jump over. If you clean up your movement as you approach this in any way, you're probably more confirmed to go for it. But I wouldn't focus too hard on that. But the spots where it does matter is when you're so X-ray was just for sake of me putting numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. So like X-ray is number 2. So like X-ray is pushing this, and then you are sitting right here, and specifically you're sitting in the center of this. You don't have height, so like it's gonna take you a long time to get around. It's gonna take you a long time to get around. So if X-ray is going for one of these plays, you need to put yourself into a situation to succeed, which means you either take the top of this so that like your in position should either be here or here. This is risky against the charger, but that is an option. But you want to be able to assist with it. You know, at the very end of the game, you were positioned here. Well, I don't remember where everyone was, but like X-ray was over here, Saf was somewhere over here. Maybe they were farther back, I don't remember. But instead of being in this spot to look for a pick, like as a splash, if you were a machine, like you're chilling, you're hitting shots on this angle, you're clearing this spot, like you're in a really nice spot where you're at now. But as a splash, this is kind of rough. So instead of being here, you immediately need to get to like this corner. Yeah, sorry, I'm like an idiot. But yeah, you want to get to this corner to round this edge, or you know, like Charger was sitting in this spot. So, you know, if you time yourself properly, you can go for this type of flank if you want to get onto the Charger. If you're going to go for this type of play, you're probably going to want to comet, because you're taking a play on one side of the map and your team's taking a fight on the other side. And you had enough time, even 30 seconds is enough time, but you don't want these people to be making plays if you're going for this out of the way play on the Charger, which like getting that Charger pick would be great. And if you're on position where you're on their plat and you can start flanking the rest of this, that's totally fine. But if you're going for this type of play, you need to make sure that your teammates are holding long enough for you to be able to actually like see that play to its completion, basically. So what would this be considered? I think it's just like positioning. I don't know. I'll just say position, which I think I explained what that means. But there's just a lot of spots. Oh shit. I have to use the eraser tool. Because there's so many situations where you're able to like you have the right play. You're sitting on stack and you're ready to make a move with your teammate. Or you're sitting like a lot of times you'll sit in spots and like if your positioning was just like a little bit different, the whole outcome is a lot better. So that positioning and timing, I can't draw. I would all right, timing is really important. Really, 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 really important. 3, I don't think you had too many issues here, but I think it's a general thing because defense is hard. But you need to work on planning. And this is something that basically goes for like everyone that like isn't a top player. And this is like understanding the line, which if you didn't see that video, I can link you the tweet. But there was like, they explained like the line, which basically like if a team has an advantage or if a team, it can be used offensively or defensively. But like if we consider this entire map as like singular line, it's trying to like, you have to understand like how far your team can push up this line in any given scenario. So when you're on defense, this line might only be this far. You can only kind of hold your bats in this area. And this was the spot earlier on that enabled that larger push when they had the wiper come through. I don't know if this was the start of that push, but like you were just coming out of spawn, minding your own business, and this wiper was like ready to jump on you and just got a free splat. And you thought, from your perspective, you thought the line went all the way to here. You wanted to get into a spot where you could like sit comfortably on your plat, throw suction bombs onto the tower when they're on the first checkpoint, and you're chilling. But your line isn't this far. Your line was only to here. And anything past this is very, very dangerous. You thought so, Chris? Sorry. I get really excited when it comes to VOD reviews. I enjoy it. So the planning part is like when you get splatted, check your minimap, check paint, understand what spots the enemy is going to be in position for. And depending on the map and your familiarity with the map or mode, you may not always know what that is, but it at least should be something that you're thinking about, so that you can get better at it. It's a skill that's really, really important to understand where the enemy's trying to go or where they're at. And where you were positioning is like totally fine. Like if you wanted to go here, I would probably have taken bats, but I think you and Saf were both coming off spawn. So like if Saf was going to paint for crab and get into this type of spot, you could support them. But like, you know, if you wanted to sit here and get some paint over here, like throw the suction bomb and prevent this person from just jumping at you. But you got more caught off guard than anything, which means you didn't really have like, you weren't anticipating that they'd be in these spots, but good players would anticipate that they're going to be holding these spots. And like if they had like a splash on their team, for example, and they were like, they already had tower getting to the first checkpoint, you would expect that they're going to have a crab like here. Oh, let me get rid of the other X. They'd have a crab in this spot. And if you tried to just get into position and throw your suction bombs, this crab is going to beam you immediately. Was there anything else? This positional one was honestly like the most important. This position and timing is like really, really important. Because when we looked at there was a knot review that we did on Wahoo zones. And in that, your positioning was like, I think your timings were actually fine. Actually, they're pretty good that game, but your positionings were like a little. Oh, it's TC. Oh, okay. But yeah, TC. You're right. But in that game, your positioning was like you didn't put yourself in the spots to necessarily succeed, and you were getting carried by your mechanics because you're goated. Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else. I guess press R, sure. Use suction bombs, especially like. Suction bombs when you're trying to push space, like always look, and you have to be mindful of your ink tank. So like, you know, use this accordingly. Not every time you push in, you need a suction bomb, but like on defense, especially defending tower, you're going to see a lot more success just throwing suction bombs on or around the tower instead of trying to drop and take fights. Like you can take fights, but time and place. So at least be more considerate about when you want to use suction bombs. But at this point, this is a lot of stuff for you to think about. I wouldn't worry about this as much, but it is like all these are important. But this biggest thing is the positioning. And like some of this, like some of that also goes into the planning where you want to know where you're trying to, like, you want to know what the goal is, what you're trying to do, and how you go about making that happen. And so you want to position yourself in spots where you can, you know, whatever you visualize in your head as being the successful play, you want to put yourself in a position to be able to actually like achieve that.